Mate, what is with all these NRL fantasy podcasts? They all sound the fucking same. Welcome to the echo chamber.
Hello and welcome to round 4 preview. It's Carnage time. I'm here with Bryce and Jay-Z. How are you going, Bryce?
I'm doing too good, mate. I'm finished pretty good with the old Haas captain. The old Yoda Haas trade turned up trumps last week, giving me 100,000 million points. It was good.
Wow, that's a bold one. It certainly paid off this week, though. Jay-Z, what about you? How are you travelling?
Made all the real fantasy coaches captain Cleary last week, and then lost 100 points as a result of it. So I'm in the basket of real coaches.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. But yeah, that's what this week's all about. The main man, Payne Haas, he's 949k now. It's about a 70 average. The hot topic on everyone's lips this week is what the heck do we do if you don't have him? Bryce, you do have him. How heavily would you be rating that performance versus his previous ones, his previous couple of 80s?
I think you're just playing a worse team. I think the 2 weeks he's played pretty much the same standard. That's what you're probably going to get out of Haas until he gets a little niggle, because he will probably pick up something at some point through the season. But while he's absolutely murdering teams like he is with his offloads, his quick feed at the line, I mean, he's got to be captain every week for me right now.
Yeah, with Cleary out this week, he's 100% my captain. I'm not even thinking about it. Jay-Z, do you own Haas?
Yeah, I've had Haas from round 1. I
that's
thought
right.
he'd start the season quite hot, not quite to this extent. Yeah, it was a big game for him. The 70 minutes is really what came up clutch, I think. I was probably expecting more along the lines of the sort of 50 to 60 minutes with them putting the Cowboys away. But to the Cows' credit, they hung in the game, and Haas was just he was playing some lights-out footy. He actually just looks a lot quicker this season than he ever has in the past. Like, any concerns about him having ankle problems coming into the year, like, they've been blown away now.
Yeah, he's absolute gun, and the Cowboys had all the ball the first 20 minutes of that game. So he was just racking up tackles. He was just getting that base in. And then he had the motor once they actually got the ball just to rip our team apart. It was really good to watch Payne Haas play the game. Like, I'm a Queenslander and I watch him destroy my team. And it was just something to, like, behold. It was really good watching someone at the peak of their game.
He's in a league of his own. He's really just a freak of nature, and I seriously could not believe how quick he was moving across the ground for a bloke that size.
Yeah, every now and then a player just has a season like that, whether it's Benny Barber 2012 or a Turbo season or a Haynes season. Like, sometimes you see a player and you're like, they are on this season. This could be the year for Payne Haas. That's, in my opinion, the only reason I would still be going out and buying him at this stage if I didn't have him, because he's added that to his game. He's running slightly different lines to attack different players, looking to offload. Yes, he's been an absolute 60 to 65 gun without question every year, but he's adding to that. And I think that makes him incredibly dangerous for non-owners.
The biggest issue is, how do you get Payne now at 950? And this is why I pulled the trigger last week and used Yo. Is he's now gone for anyone for a 1-to-1 swap, right? Unless you're sitting at 200, 300 grand in the bank, it's going to be really hard for you just to do that in one trade. You're going to have to cash in a mid-ranger that's probably out. Maybe you held on to Lucas last week and you can use him as a chip to get up there, but you're still going to have to do 2 trades to get anywhere near Payne Haas this week.
Yeah, let's put it this way. He's 150k more than the next highest now that Cleary's dropped. Terrell May's not a trade. Yo is sub 800k now. Ponga on the buy, you're not trading him. So realistically, you're only looking at guys around possibly like the Watson level at most. Watson, Hopgood at like the low 700s. Is there a conversation where you'd move somebody like that to Haas, JC? Oh,
Yeah, I think there has to be a serious consideration for it with guys like Watson. I hate to say that Watson's role might change when he's back because it's really just speculation. But the Roosters have a few guys back on deck, and we'll get into that soon when we go through the team list. But he's sort of had his couple of big games. Watson, the 90 last week, obviously sort of rolled him all the way up to the sort of mid 700s. And I think it's avoid Haas at your own peril at this point. Like if you could trade a failing mid ranger down to like a Kautoga or something, and then up Watson to Haas. Like if Haas keeps scoring at the rate he's going, and you don't have him as your captain, yeah, May might keep it close, but it's an extra at least 10 points per week if he keeps up the 80 average. Like it really is unprecedented. And when things like this happen, and I've found this almost every time, like when Hayne had his ridiculous season, when Turbo had his COVID ball season, it's like you just need to get these guys, otherwise you're not even going to be competitive.
yeah, I was going to reference the 2021 season because I myself was on the losing end of that situation. I was thinking of a particular set of two trades which I did not love to bring in Cleary, and then he made another 250k from there, and I just was ground into the dirt for the rest of the year. That isn't guaranteed to happen by any means. It's round 4, but he's shown something that looks like that can continue, and would not be surprised if he finished the season with a 75 average.
Yeah, I mean, I got absolutely destroyed for a week when I said Payne Haas could end with a 75 average, and I still don't. Actually, I still think that's a high side, right? I think it's more likely to be a 70. He is gonna get an injury at some point because that's Payne Haas. He does it every year. Just the way he plays with so much power and brutality that he ends up just hurting himself a little bit. But I just don't know how most people get to Payne. Like it's going to be really difficult right now.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea. Like it's almost too far gone at this point. And as much as, even though I just said like you might not be competitive, you just kind of need to back the fact that he's never done this before. No prop has ever done anywhere near what he's doing, and you just got to hope he comes back to reality and stops hitting out these ridiculous numbers. And while his base is actually quite large, I was talking to Longy about this the other day. He's almost scoring 80 in near base. If you consider TBs, which is right in his wheelhouse as like a base stat for him, with his increased output of offloads as well, like he's almost guaranteed to score a 70. Like he doesn't really have a floor that's particularly low unless his minutes are cut.
But even in his first 2 games, he only had 50 and like 49 and 57 minutes. It wasn't huge. It's just
exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know how much more we can say about Payne Haas other than he's an absolute gun. If there is a way to get to him without just completely gutting your team, then you've probably got to do it. And I sacrificed Isaiah Yeo because I could figure I could pick him up in a couple more weeks to get back into my team cheaper, and the trade would end up being about the 150k mark, right? So that's that's why I did that. But I don't know who you'd use now, right?
Yeah,
like maybe use a Watson. Like I don't recommend trading Cleary because he's going to come back and do Cleary things. I don't know. I'm kind of out of ideas for people this week to get Haas, to be honest.
Yeah, look, sometimes you got to make crazy trades to get the guys that are just killing it, knocking it out the park. So, yeah, I think if you can buy Payne Haas, buy him, but I don't hate the idea of anti-potting him at this point.
Yeah, some people are just going to have to, aren't they? Yeah, some other people that really, really tore it up this week, like Haas, Garrick blew away a lot of my ranks that I'd made with Haas captain with a 97, and Jaden Campbell took on a really big share of the kicking to get his 81. They're probably some of the targets this week with so many nights out. What do you have? Did you both get Campbell last week?
I didn't. I didn't get Jay-Z. I can't. My big move was to get Payne Haas. I'm going to anti-pod Mr. Campbell just maybe for a couple more weeks. He had a perfect game last week, in my opinion. He was playing a weeknights team. The game was blown wide open. Kayakini was absolutely destroying him, and he was just playing off the back, and he just had basically a perfect Jaden Campbell game. I want to see a few more games. I think there's going to be more games like last week, but there'll be a lot of them 40s in there as well.
Yeah, look, I don't think it was the perfect game for him. Obviously, he had a really, really good game. 81 points reflects that. But he's still sort of figuring out how to get his running game and balance it with the sort of playmaking role that he's taking. Like he's obviously kicking the ball a lot and he's organizing the attack, but he hasn't quite figured out how to interject himself as much in. And while he had that really nice run close to the line where he scored the try, no other tackle busts for the whole game for Jaden Campbell, which is really sort of crazy when you think about how good he was at 5'8" last year. I did trade him in. I needed to punt someone to fix my wing fullbacks, and it sort of paid off where I traded Dylan Lucas out before we had any sort of concrete news in order to do a straight swap with Jaden Campbell, just because my wing fullbacks were lacking. And he looks really, really good. Just from a fantasy perspective, I don't know if he looks that good in real life. Like he had a couple of really poor fifth tackle options, which hurt the Titans. And if they're in a closer game, those are going to stand out a bit more. So hopefully he works those sort of kinks out of his game. Like I think he gave us 2 7-tackle sets by kicking the ball just like way too deep into the in goal. But from a fantasy perspective, his base is crazy for a wing fullback. And so like I really like the idea of buying Jaden Campbell.
Yeah, he's on my radar this week after I ummed about Watson versus Campbell and then just decided to go Watson and give into FOMO. Cost me 50 points, and I now have one less player this week, so he's definitely on my radar to bring in instead.
Oh, you brought in Watson last week.
Yeah, I brought in Watson because there was more Roosters just going out and out, and I thought I just need him, and that was a bad
unlucky.
Move.
No, it wasn't a bad move. It was just unlucky, man. I mean, Watson was a good call last week, and he's going to be great up until Origin period. Yeah, I guess with JC, one more thing is the news is that Kayakini's gone for an extended period now, right? That sort of broke today.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect Jaden? Do we think? I know he likes the open ball, right? He likes broken down plays. I think they went really structured against the Bulldogs, and you could see that, right? Whereas there's a lot more second phase play in the Knights game, and he ate it up. Without Kayakini there, does that discount him a little bit?
See, I'd almost go the other way. Like, I think a lot of what we saw on the weekend was, and you're right, Keanu Kini had an absolutely phenomenal game. He was popping up everywhere, and they were using him as that sort of player, and he was playing both sides of the ruck. I think with him out, and we don't have any confirmation on how long, but with him out, Campbell's going to need to run the footy a bit more. And what I was sort of just alluding to there is a Campbell that runs the ball a lot, that also kicks the ball for 500 metres a game, is a very, very tantalising prospect in NRL fantasy.
He only ran 70 metres last week. Surely he's got to get that number up, right?
You'd think
100%.
so, right? He's such a strong runner of the footy too. That's his real strength.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I like about Jaden Campbell. I've just got to figure out how to get him at the moment, especially with all these red dots. Is there any other important topics we must cover before we chuck into these results and team lists? I mean, everybody by now knows that Cleary got 5, and if you captained him, you got 10. And yeah, it's just a bit of a sticky situation all around. But other than that, everybody already knows that Cleary did that.
Nico Hines had a fucking crazy game before not kicking the ball. He had all the attacking stats in the world. Don't get baited into doing a Cleary to Hines trade or something like that based on last week's game.
Yeah, and I think more so just generally speaking, not necessarily on that trade in particular, but trading Nathan Cleary is just mental. Even to Payne Haas is just an absolutely mental trade. He's a guy that can score just as well as Haas is scoring right now. Yeah, he had a couple of down games to start the year, but he kind of always does. And he comes back and has a real nice run of fixtures leading into Origin. So cop the week, cop the 5, and just wait till he's back next week. He still might score 100 points against your struggling Cowboys. Pricey.
Yeah, of course you will. Of course you will. Everyone's scoring 100s against Cowboys at the moment, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's I guess it's not a shame, but the Rabbits do get some troops back, but they are against zero Cleary. And that's our Thursday night match. The Rabbits get Alex Johnston back in, but Campbell Graham goes out. I think with a lower leg injury, supposedly. Other than that, the pack looks relatively similar. And we have on the Panthers side, no Nathan Cleary. And instead at halfback, we have Trent Tolau. So very excited to see how he goes. Cole's still 6, Talagi's on the bench, and rest is pretty much as per program, except Casey McLean is reserves in 18. We'll watch that. Alamoti's currently on the wing and Jenkins centre. I would have expected it to be Alamoti and Jenkins in the opposite positions.
Yeah, it's a weird one, that. I think Jenkins was super impressive for Penrith against Melbourne. Like, thrown into a role in the wet against arguably the best team in the competition. And when he played for the Knights, he was horrendous. To go and put a performance like that on, when your halfback, best player in the game, goes down 10 minutes in, he was phenomenal, man. He was really, really strong. So I think he definitely warranted his spot in the team. Whether or not that means he plays center or wing, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think Alamoti's just been so good on the wing that they're like, all right, you can play this position, and maybe McLean's defense isn't there yet, or maybe he's not taking the hard carries that you need a winger to take. But Alamoti's shown that he can be that guy, and he's been, like, honestly, one of Penrith's best buyers over the last 5 years, and that's saying a lot considering some of the guys they've had.
He's a big body, eh? He's got a lot of power in him. I don't think this will be Panthers 1-17 when we come to Thursday night. Brad Schneider's there on the extended bench, and he's a lot more bedded down as a 7 than what Trent is, from my understanding. So I don't know whether Brad's been injured or something, or if he's just been running reps in the reserve grade. But that's somebody I'd be definitely watching out for to come into the 7.
Yeah, he is definitely a more out and out 7. But the Trent Tolau, he had that really, really good game in the trials. He played some really nice footy for Penrith last season. I doubt they're going to bait him for one game and then pull him late. Look, it's a possibility, obviously, but I think he's going to play 7 this week. And I think they'll get through it. They're playing a pretty weak Rabbitohs team.
You'd expect it to be the other way around if Brad was injured, like that name Brad and then put Trent at the 22 and then bring him in late.
Yeah, well, it's his first start in first grade, so it'd be a bit cruel to name him 7 on Tuesday and then pull him right before the game.
It is Ivan Cleary.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think what they would do if it was a longer term injury is probably give Schneider, because they know that's what he can do, and they're going to give Tolau a taste of this one because it's just the 1 week.
And it's against the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, easier one to have a look at.
Yeah, and Campbell Graham is actually a massive out for South Sydney. I don't know what his injury is, but they are just a significantly worse side defensively when he's out. He's one of the best defensive centres in the game, so there could be a lot of points on for Penrith out wide here.
I feel so sorry for that bloke. I mean, he just needs a break, get a full season under his belt. Poor Campbell Graham, mate.
Yeah, very good player.
Yeah, all the Rabbitohs outside backs, actually. AJ keeps getting injured. Paul Munro's broken his collarbone like 4 times, and Campbell's out again. So, best wishes to them. But, hopefully they can stay fit.
How bad was Ravalawa last week, mate? Holy crap. He's going to have to pick it up this week.
Yeah, his defense was shocking. I think, I'm surprised he's even still in the side. I guess Wayne thinks he can get the best out of him. mid-season, mid-week transfer. So there's probably a bit to be said about his ball carrying. He obviously offers meters, which is something they need with all the forwards out. But yeah, really, really bad first up showing from him.
Yeah, I think that even though there's a lot of injuries, he's going to have to be careful not to be put on the outer. But we have Duncan at lock again. Hubner, one more week. Do you think if Duncan has a really, really good game, he'll pinch that off him, or will that be too stiff on Hubner?
Yeah, too stiff on Hubs.
Yeah, look, Duncan's been there for a while, right? He's had a lot of opportunity to sort of win a spot in the starting pack, and I think if he was good enough, he'd have that already. And Hubner's shown it. Wayne's talked Hubner up a lot, right? He really likes what Hubner brings to the team, so I think he'll walk back into that lock role with ease.
Yeah, he brought him to the team too, so it's like he's my boy,
Yep, agree with that. There's not a lot of super relevant scorers anymore in this team, other than if you have Yo, it's Yo, and everybody should have Humphreys by now. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of interest in Penrith's bench, in particular. Liam Henry was absolutely murdering it against Melbourne. He was going well over PPM, and if he gets his minutes back up to where he's capable of playing, he'll be a very relevant option. Isaiah Papali'i in a similar boat. Like his minutes just aren't there at the moment. But when we get to the Origin period, when Isaiah Yeo and Liam Martin go and play State of Origin, then these guys will get bigger minutes and become real relevant options. And there's even a chance that Lindsay Smith gets a call up to the Blues as well. He was a bolter for Australia, did a really good job. So there'll be minutes on offer. Just wait and see with these guys once they drop a bit of money.
I don't think Liam Henry's going to drop a huge amount of money though. Like he's sort of already pumping out. He's sort of break even, so I don't think he's going to get overly cheap. But you better be prepared to pay that 480, 450 mark for him, I reckon.
Yeah, if he's getting like 3 out of 5 weeks where he plays 55 though, or 60, that'll be enough. Yep, it'll be enough. All right. Move on. Another Humphrey 70 would be nice. How good has he been? Roosters and Titans on the Friday nights. Titans off a solid win. Roosters coming down off a loss again. I don't know how to read the Roosters this year because with their performances so far, but they have no Connor Watson, which is rather important to their side and to us fantasy coaches. We do see the return, however, of Nat Butcher finally, off that sort of uncertain injury. I think it was a finger injury of some sort. He's on the bench though. Wong still retains second row, and White is still at prop. Collins on the bench still. Do you reckon there's going to be late switches there with this forward pack? I think White's shown that he's good, but I don't know if he's pushed himself above Collins just yet.
I think White holds it, to be honest, man. Like I might be a little bit biased because I own him and I've had him since round 1, but Lindsay's had his issues. I think easing Lindsay back in is not the worst idea in the world. I think you get a few more weeks out of White.
Yeah, I think if we're going to see any late changes, it's likely going to involve Nat Butcher and Victor Radley. If there are any changes, we might see Radley move to an edge and Butcher line up at lock, like they were listed in round 1 is a potential. Obviously, Siwa Wong's been pretty strong for them, so I don't know if he's going to lose his spot. And White has been their best middle forward to start the season. So even if he does get moved to the bench, which I think is pretty unlikely, he's going to play that sort of 50 to 60-minute role, I think. Really, really strong against the Warriors, really good against Penrith. And if he keeps that up, man, he's going to be there for the whole year. He, like I said, he's been their best middle forward, absolutely deserves the role. I'd say I probably have a bit more concern over Rob Toya, who had a really bad game against the Warriors, and Billy Smith lurking in the reserves in jersey 18, and he scored 2 tries in 2 cup games. So that's what I'm worried about more so than the forward pack.
Yeah, well, he's the perennial guy who just comes in, when there is an injury or holds down that other centre when Manu was there. So any slip up and he's just straight in. But, well, boys made us some decent money so far. Hopefully, he can squeeze another little bit out of him first.
Billy Smith can just stay in reserve grade for a few more weeks. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and you hope they line up the way that they're listed at the moment, because this Titans side's quite vulnerable, especially without Keanu Keeney. I'd like the way the Titans forwards played against Newcastle more so than they did against the Dogs. And I think the Titans have it in them to be a really good side if guys like Brimson and Campbell really stick to their running games. Tino he's come back looking like $1 million, hasn't he? You'd hardly know that he's done his ACL and he's fresh off surgery.
Yeah, it's very strong. Hey, that's the second time in 2 years that somebody's had basically a full 12 months to recoup from an ACL rupture instead of like 9 or 10. And it looks like $1 million. Carrigan, brilliant season, and Tino's just hit the ground running. Fantastic for this Titans team.
Yeah, I don't think he scored very well against the Knights, unfortunately. I think he got like a 40 or something. So, fantasy-wise, I think you still got to watch Tino a little bit longer to see what's happening. Obviously, he had an amazing first game, scored a try.
Yeah, look, I think the interesting thing to note about him is that he's missed 5 tackles in both games. Things that probably they don't get noticed as much because they're not straight one-on-one misses. They're misses where he's running out of the line trying to absolutely clobber a bloke and then just missing him or slows him down, like the old James Maloney style speed bump, except he is
bigger.
the speed bump. Yeah, he's a much bigger speed bump.
I'm not driving over that speed bump, mate. Rip half car off.
I would not run at him even if we were in the same game of rugby league. Any interest in Victor Radley anytime soon, gentlemen?
What's he dropped to? Is he dropped much or is
526? No, because it's Victor Radley and he's either going to get suspended or injured.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to take a punt, and I think he's one of the guys that are probably worth taking a punt on. Like, he traditionally plays 80 minutes in that pack. Maybe he played. He had a HIA on the weekend again, which not a great side, but it sort of says he can play 80 minutes at lock, and he often does. And when he does, he's like a high 40s guy, I think. So if there's a 400 in front of his name or price, I'd be very tempted on Vic.
His break even still 52. He's going to lose a bit more cash. I think he can probably wait till the Broncos game, which is in 3 weeks, I think, with Victor before he's going to take away his price. So you get a couple of weeks to look at him. I don't think he should play on the edge because he gets hurt. Like, he gets them nasty head knocks there. I
agree.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a big thing that really fixed Isaiah Yo's career was when he moved from an edge to the middle. He used to cop a lot of head knocks himself, and once he's barely had any since he's moved to low.
Yeah. On that topic, though, does that make Wong a better buy?
Wong's so risky. I don't know.
Yeah, that one is really up in the air because if Wong holds that spot and plays 80 minutes, then that makes Radley a worse buy because he's probably not going to play 80 in the middle, especially with Butcher and Collins back.
Wong kills it in the fucking edge, though, right? Like, holy shit.
He does, but I don't know that he looks that good in real life. Like, his fantasy scores are fantastic, but similar to Toya, like, he makes a lot of mistakes. He misses tackles that he shouldn't be missing. He's real impressive as a footballer, generally speaking, but I think his fantasy numbers are sort of blinding or covering his inability to play 80 minutes on an edge.
Yeah. 54 tackles last week. He's not getting that every week, so...
Yeah, there's a lot of risk this year, again, just across the whole Roosters pack in general, with Butcher back and Lenny back and Watson to come back. I just don't know if I want to trouble myself with going out and buying another one and trying to get another 150k out rather than just starting with one of them. I mean, like, Wong could honestly be like the Offa Hengawi of a few years ago where he suddenly had made over 200k and like 1% of people owned him, but it's just probably not for me. I prefer to have White, ride him up to 600 or so or whatever, and then just jump off.
I'm watching Nat Butcher more than I'm watching Wong. I want to see what Nat does. I think he's got better pedigree as a player. So that's my reason I want to watch this guy.
Yeah, not a bad shout. I like Nat Butcher. As long as he gets the role, I just
Yep.
kind of feels like he's not going to get that role this year with guys like White and Wong really.
Wong's still young, right? He's still a young man. At some point he's gonna have to take a break, and sort of when you jump on that Butcher when he gets that role.
Yep. One topic that probably not a lot of people are thinking about now, but they will have to start in the next few weeks. Sandon Smith's not going to score a try every week, as we saw last week against the Warriors. When are we looking to sell Sandon and some of these other cheapy halves and things? I guess Duffy's gone and Cole's sort of there and possibly doing better now with no Cleary, but it's probably just a matter of waiting until they actually peak. Like Sand's probably got a shelf life of 3 more weeks, maybe.
Probably that Panthers game is when you're looking at what his break even is.
Yeah, it really depends because like he's had 2 really, really tough fixtures and also a fixture where the Roosters scored 1 try and he hasn't scored below 30 yet. So the signs are there. He's playing really well in real life as well. I don't think many people expected him to crack 40 points against either the Broncos or Panthers. So it's an interesting one. Like I think we wait and see how he goes against the Titans and the Rabbitohs in the next 2 weeks, and he could come out, score 2 40s, and have another 2 weeks in him. He's not necessarily dead to a fixture, but just looking at the draw, they played Broncos and the Panthers back to back again. So maybe at that point, it just depends where his price is at and what his break even is. But I wouldn't be too against hopping off early after the next 2 weeks, depending on how he goes.
Once his break even is higher than he's like priced at, that's sort of the point, right? You don't want to be counting on him to come out and bust a 50 if he's priced in the 40s. So
Yeah, I think that the reason I bring it up is because at the moment we just have so many people out. He's not an option, but if we continue to have Carnage, how long will it be until he is one of those upgrade options and we jump a week or 2 early? That's probably where my head is at with guys like Sand at the moment. Can you sell it like a 420k or a 430k instead of waiting till he's 470, 480?
I think Narwar's probably going to be to the end of his shelf life first before Sandon Smith. Just Narwar hasn't had that big score to get his break even low enough, and Billy Smith is right there killing. So
I don't think Mark is going to get dropped. Nawanganita Wase has been really close to a couple of really big plays, and I think the Roosters can feel that he's got something. There's something about him. He's got that really good offload. He almost scored a magnificent solo try against the Warriors. He really turned it on against Penrith as well. Damaging runs against Brisbane. Like this guy is going to stay in the side. I don't know whether that means he's going to start scoring well in fantasy. That's a completely different story. And the same problems with Sandon in the fact that he plays the Broncos and Panthers again coming up is not for him. But I seriously think he's going to have a breakout game at some point, and he's going to come out and absolutely smash it. Maybe not Ruben Garrick levels, but he looks really good.
Well, let's hope he does it this week, because if he can get his break even down, then he's going to make us bulk money. He just hasn't had that game. So at the moment, Nawa is the one that's going to hit his shelf life first, and he's probably going to find his way out of my team.
Yeah. So let's hope he can hit a 45 plus this week and roll on up to high 400s, and then we can deal about it.
Any concerns on Rob Toyer from either of you?
His break even's low. I got no problem with him.
Until he's out, probably not. Like he had a rough game last week, but fantasy wise and cash generation wise, he's not gone yet. if I had spare centres, I might consider looping him, but I mean, not in this fixture, really. Um, Probably just based on those reserve grade stats and how good he looked in that first match as well. So just going to wait on him.
I think Toya's going to be fine. Yeah, he's got a low break even unless he's dropped from the squad. I think he just hang on.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll finish off with a couple of these Titans guys. Well, let's talk about the low first. Brimson has been pretty shocking from a fantasy perspective, missing a bunch of tackles. Will he run more and come back up with Keeney gone? In other words, is he a hold or is he somebody that's really easy to turn into somebody like a Campbell or like a Payne Haas if you don't have him?
I mean, I don't know how you're turning 400k into 700. That'd be my first question. But if you could do that, then by all means, because I don't think Brimson's going to have that 50 average that some people were spouting and talking about. I can see him moving back to fullback this week.
I don't think he'll play fullback. I think they're pretty locked in for Brimson and Campbell as the halves. Like I don't think there's a backup 6 that can come in. I know Weaver was tossed up, but he's more of a genuine out and out 7. Hey, did Brimson come off? I'm just looking at his stats now. He only played 75 minutes.
He did. He came off with cramp.
It's a bit annoying. I don't own him, but I this is almost exactly why I avoided Brimson, is because he's one of those guys that gets all his points in bunches. And if he doesn't have a big attacking play, then he's not going to score very many points at all because he's a bit of a passenger, to be quite honest. And he racks up negatives like no tomorrow. We've seen how bad his missed tackle counts have been in the first 2 games. And you're kind of backing the Titans to fire. And I think Keanu Keeney out hurts him a lot more than it hurts Campbell because of that broken field play that you were talking about earlier, Brycey. Yep. He's a support player, right? He can take the line on and beat tackles himself, but his strength is following the footy around and, really leveraging the work that guys like Keanu Keeney, and they don't have many others, to be quite frank, but let's say Brian Kelly and Phil Sammy, for example. And he's going to need those guys firing if he's going to score big points. And while he can create, he's just a real annoying watch.
Yeah, I own him. I'm disappointed, to say the least. I've traded guys for less than what he put out last week, but I'm going to hold one more just to see what happens. This is a bit of a 3-date rule for me tonight with Brimo. And the other thing is I don't really have anyone to go to. Like, if I trade out Brimson, I'm playing the Iongi. I can't get up to JC with one trade, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that's
just a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the injuries and the buys of those Knights players and Iongi stinking it up, Bringamo would be probably quite a different conversation. But this week is very, very hard to sell a green dot unless you're forcing a double trade into Payne Haas, like a Watson and a Brimson to get to a Payne Haas. But if you don't need that, well, yeah, you just leave it.
But even if you're going to cash down Brimson, who are you going to cash him down to? Like, because you want the full money out of him, because it's not like he's 500k and you could get a 300k player.
Kautoga.
So you roll the dice and see if the Eels are going to not just absolutely rape you.
I mean, I'm probably not trading Brimson if I own him, to be quite honest. But if I was, he's the only obvious trade down, unless you've missed like Stafford Toa or something. But even then, I don't know if I'd bring in Stafford Toa.
Yeah, Toa's like 340.
Yeah, I think he's already gone. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't be recommending Toa this
332 with a 0 break even. It's not the worst. Tigers' run of fixtures isn't that bad, but
yeah, it's not base. Doesn't leverage enough.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with a lot of these low guys is Katonga's the only real trade down option at the moment. And like you said, if they come out and Manly put 50 on him at 4 points, which they absolutely should, he could be gone very, very quickly.
Yeah. I think we all spoke about JC, and if you can get him easily, then do it, because as much as can't get him, it's not that I don't want him. I can't get him. When Fail Hub gave us the 500k, he was instantly in my team, but they took that away pretty quick. What about Big Fermor, Scoopy?
He's done all right. I've always liked him as a final keeper option in the centres. I just don't think he's quite as good as Dylan Lucas would be. But he's had 2 really good games, 61 with a try, admittedly. But he started off pretty strong. And if Titans decide to play David Fafita off the bench more than just for a couple of weeks, and he's locked into being the go-to essentially, well, it's not too bad of an option.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Fafita will be back really quickly. They need him. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, he's dropping a lot too. He's 689 now, which is absolutely juicy for him. If he gets 1 or 2 more weeks and goes into the low 600s, like that's going to be very, very good to pick up in a few weeks.
Yeah, and it's worth noting he came into the season a bit underdone with ankle surgery. I know people were crucifying Des Hasler for only playing him for 30 minutes off the bench, but Fafita said in his own words, "This is the toughest injury I've ever had to come back from," and he wasn't tracking all that well. So if he ever gets back anywhere near 80 minutes, then he's like an almost instant purchase, even at his current price.
Fafita? Oh, yeah, 100%. I just want to put a warning out there. Please stay away from Tony Francis. Don't bring him into your team.
The franchise, mate. What, 4 points not enough for you?
That's my public service announcement for the day.
Yeah, I didn't realise he scored that though. That's as bad as Ravalawa.
It was terrible, mate. I don't know how you score that. He lost money at 250. Like, okay,
that's impressive. Yeah,
fantastic stuff. All right, we'll move on to Friday: Dolphins versus Broncos. Battle of Brisbane, but it looks like it's going to be pretty one-sided this year. We've got on the Broncos side, we have Katoni Staggs back, and the Shib lives another day. Dane Mariner makes way for him. Piakura is still bench and Gijewski is still starting. Not much more to say about that. On the Dolphins side, they're pretty much as per program, same 17, I think. But yeah, I just think the Dolphins are going to run a train through this Dolphins.
The Dolphins are going to run a train through the Dolphins? Okay. Look, Shib owners, you need to go outside, pray to the fucking fantasy gods, and just like understand how fucking lucky you are that this person is still in the team. I don't know how it's happened. To be fair, he's played really well, and he's shown everybody what he can actually do. But yeah, it astounds me that he's still named in this squad.
Yeah, he's looked pretty serviceable the first.
He has.
3
weeks. He's surprised me. I watched him when he's at the Cowboys for a bit, and he just didn't look anything like this player. So I don't know who this is. Maybe they've cloned him, added skill. I don't know.
Yeah, he was at the Knights as well, and he wasn't the worst player in the world, but he didn't exactly train the house down or anything, or he wasn't creating headlines for being center of the year. But yeah, I think that's enough about Shiva.
It just we've got to understand it's Madge, and he's also playing Gozzy, so swings and roundabouts, right?
But less and less, right? Like I think it will get to a point where Gozzy's not starting, or if he does start, he's only playing like the first 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, I do just want to shout out. I think he probably holds an NRL record because from the look of his stats, he at one stage at the beginning of this year played 4 different clubs in 5 games because he played he finished with the Knights in 21, played 2 games for the Cows in 23, 1 for Rabbits in 24, now he's at Broncos. That's insane.
Played a game for South. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't remember him being
against the Dragons.
I forgot that completely.
Yeah. Round 10, it wasn't even like towards the end where we didn't care. Holy shit. Okay.
I didn't even remember that at all. There you go. There's one for NRL grid.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. Anyway.
But okay, cool. No one else really too relevant in these sides. We've talked Payne Haas to death. Reece Walsh, probably the only interesting one at the Broncos. He's dropped a lot of money.
I'm watching him, man.
He doesn't look great, like in real life. But
he's going to fire, though. Like
he's too good not to.
Yeah, and the Broncos are too good not for him to fire, right? He's just going to get dragged along with them. So I'm waiting. I don't think he's playing Origin this year.
Yeah, you'd have to say Ponga's in front of him at the moment. I'd love to see him follow Payne Haas around, like with how freakishly the guy is offloading at the moment. Surely there is so much.
So Queenslanders getting Payne Haas this year? Fucking let's go, bro.
No, talking about Reece Walsh at the Broncos.
Oh, okay.
State of Origin chat, mate. We're way too early for that. That's 3 months away.
Yeah, no, he needs to get involved in that center. But he is making lots of silly mistakes, right? Like,
he's just forcing his hand a bit much at the moment. Like he is that kind of player. Like he's really rushed and he tries to score off every play. He needs to calm down a bit and just get his basics right. He threw a really lovely pass for Jesse Arthurs to score in the corner.
And then threw three to the touchy.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about that.
Yeah. On that same note, fantasy players, please do not go out and buy Jesse Arthurs. He scored about 10,000 tries in not many games. That's not a fantasy play. Although he does look better outside Ben Hunt. He's gone.
Stop. You went too far. You should just left it at the don't buy him. Look, if you think he's going to average 2 tries, then go for it. But that's my thing. If 2 line breaks, like this isn't Jesse Arthurs. Once again, Madge has got the old juice, like the pickle juice out or something, injecting these average players to make them do crazy things.
Oh, he's a good player. He's just never been fantasy relevant. Like he just doesn't really have a base. It's all attack with him.
But he's never averaged over 140 meters. Like that's what he's pumping out.
No, but he's definitely always been capable of it. Like he actually is a good footballer. I don't think he's going to keep up his fantasy numbers, obviously, but I think there is a chance that he does. There's a chance that he gets a lot of attacking stats this year, unlikely as it may be.
Yeah. So just remember that a while ago, Arthur's went 50, 50, 50, then 10, 16, 14. Just putting it out there. Yeah. Dolphins wise, Kautoga. He's killing fantasy scores.
Yeah,
I feel bad for him. He's playing in a very bad side, and he's absolutely killing it. Looks everything like the young, talented 7 that we know he is. His first 2 weeks, he almost made 30 tackles both games. Now, that is just ridiculous for a halfback.
He got 53 last week and only made 13 tackles. He just, ran at people and just... Yeah,
I like crazy. Him. And that's crazy considering he's so small.
Yeah, I just like him, man. I just like him as a player. Bring him to the Cowboys. Buy him out of his contract.
Yeah, we should have given him the Dylan Brown deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shout.
We got too many halves to even consider him right now as a fantasy option, but he's absolutely killing it as a player. Are you concerned about Gilbert, Scoop?
As an owner, I probably would be if I knew that he was going to play a lot more edge. But
we'll finish back this week.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that you just keep in your team until it's the right time to sell him. He might not make you your full 100, 150k necessarily, but he'll be up and around in a solid scorer for your team. Gilbert is, however, one of those guys you can probably use as a 2 trade to get the Payne Haas if you need to.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent upgrade. So maybe like a Gilbert and a... Does that even get you there? It don't even get you there. Just Gilbert and Brimo. It doesn't get you there unless you've got 100k in the bank.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's rough out here.
It's very expensive, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about him. I think he might be a trade earlier than first expected. Like Scoop said, especially if he's playing on the edge, he'll just miss a lot more tackles than he will playing in the middle, and he's not a particularly dynamic ball runner either. Doesn't offload a lot. He's pure base, just meat and potatoes type of guy. And if it wasn't for that real inflated game against South Sydney where he made 59 tackles, we'd be considering trading him this week, to be quite frank. He's got maybe one or two more games to show that he can get to closer to the 50 average. And if he can't get there, then I'm happy to jump off early.
Yeah, I could quite easily see people holding him through to like round 12 though. Pretty solid player just to have sitting on the bench and cover your edge middle. Like if you don't know one to actually, he's not a screaming sell, quite easily hold him.
Yeah.
No, but I think. Sorry, Scoop. I think the last two games are much more representative of his scoring than the first one was. Like, I don't think you're going to see that level of base from him again, unless it's like a real tight ball in play game. But I think the Dolphins are going to cop a few handy losses, and I guess it's a bit of a litmus test this week against the Broncos. If the Broncos run away with the game, how's he going to score?
Yeah, I think he's going to be pumped up for this game.
Yeah. I think he makes it about 625 and then sits there, which is probably enough if you started the year with him. But yeah, not any fanciness.
Yeah.
All right.
Anybody else in this Dragons team? Probably not.
Nah, Bostock's back, but he made himself expensive last year. That's not really anything. All right, now we move on to the Dragons coming off their bye with some really interesting options. Jay-Z, talk to me about the legend that is Toby Couchman.
Mate, the vibes are off the charts with Toby Couchman. I had a bit of a feel about him pre-season that he would sort of take that step up and play bigger minutes and have a bigger role in the side, which he has to start the season. Obviously, 70 minutes in round one, probably not indicative of what he's going to do every week. I thought he was super impressive against South coming off the bench. Their forwards were really struggling. He came on, ran for 170 meters for a guy that's not particularly big as a front rower. And he does have an offload in him. So that game was 60 points in pure base, basically. If he keeps that up, if he gets anywhere near 60 minutes, he's a PPM guy. So he's going to score in that sort of mid-50s to 60 range.
Yeah, I think Couch should be a target for a lot of people this week, trying to move on mid-ranges.
The only concern is that he's at such an awkward price, right? Like, how do you get to him while also sort of navigating guys like getting Haas in if you don't have him, or targeting others?
If you can't get Haas and you've got like a Dylan Lucas or something, it's not the worst player in the world to cash down to that.
No, not at all.
So, like, that would be my sort of recommendation. If you had a Lucas or something like that you wanted to move on, then Toby should go. DPP.
Yeah. I think the concern was that David Clemmer was going to come in and take minutes off him.
He's going to do Clemmer things. 20 minutes.
I actually really like the bench that they've named. They've dropped Blake Laurie. For Tyler Mariner's been dropped as well. I think Dylan Egan's going to play that for Tyler Mariner, like 20-minute role. Hamish Stewart becomes an interesting option as well. He's made a fair bit of cash, but he looks really, really good. But the bench is good for Couch to play big minutes again.
Well, the thing with Stewart is he has made the 70K. No, yeah, he started at 230. So he's made 70K, but -2 break even. You'd be taking a 300K player at a -2 break even.
Just depends, because if he plays the 30 minutes that he got against South, he probably doesn't have enough in him. Like, he's probably going to average 30. If he grows, like he's only 2 games into a first grade career, 3 maybe. If he starts playing more and more minutes, which I think he's capable of, then he's sort of a spicy cheapie that you could like really catch people off guard as a pod if you get on him and he runs on with it.
Make some quick cash.
Yeah, I think he's all right. The only thing to watch out for guys like him, I guess, is if the Dragons decide to finally switch up what they're doing with Little and Cook, because I really thought they would play a lot more minutes combined. But that's the thing that's helped Couchman out a lot. There's just a lot of minutes available for him to run around and make tackles.
Cook's an old man at this point. Like I can't see him. Like, they're just going to use him and use him up for the rest of his contract. You know what I mean? And Little's killing it when he comes on.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's pretty bad last game against South when he came on Little. He killed it against the Dogs when the game was already over, for sure. But, he wasn't very good against South. I don't really know what they're going to do there. Flano's a bit of a hard-nosed bastard and sort of sticks to his ways. So, I mean, given what we know about how they've played so far, I think Cook might have 10 minutes at lock, maybe, max. But I don't think he'll play 80 minutes.
Now, we have someone in our Discord that started with Cook. Message to you, mate. Use Cook to get to someone else really quickly before you broke.
Yeah, if you have Cook, it's time to jump off him. I thought he'd play 80 minutes in this St George side. For whatever reason, he's not, and they're letting the sort of. I mean, I guess he's a small bloke himself, so I don't know what value he adds, but I thought maybe Little would spend some time at lock, and Cook would play majority hooker minutes. But like Scoop said, it's a bit weird what they're doing at the moment, and I don't know if they're going to keep doing it. Certainly, if they keep losing games, they'd have to consider changing it.
Yeah. Ended up at centre in one game, didn't he, Cook?
He did, yes. He came on at centre.
Yeah. He's a specialist centre, don't you know?
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
I'm interested in Emre Gula.
Stop it.
No, I am, mate. Emre looks good, bro.
Stop it. No, he doesn't. His fantasy scores are good. He doesn't look good.
Yeah, well, I don't, who cares about what they look like in real life, mate? It's about the scores.
Well, he's just going to get dropped because he's terrible. Like, okay, let's look at his stats. Let's break it down. He has played 54 minutes and 48 minutes for 59 metres gained and 47 metres gained.
Yeah, but 40-odd tackles in that 40 minutes. Man's got the base.
Sure, but you're not picking like a starting middle forward just to make tackles.
If he plays 50 minutes and he makes 40 tackles a game, that's 10 points of value.
Yeah, if.
Well, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, for 2 games. I'm saying he's not going to hold his spot. He's not good enough.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something to watch for us.
Yeah, there's potential for him to do really well if he stays there, but he's the guy I would expect to lose out if they did suddenly decide to use Little.
I agree.
We'll
have to wait. Put a pin in it. We'll circle back to it.
Yep, sounds good. Anything else on this Dragons side? Probably not really.
Don't buy Dylan Egan this week.
No. On the Storm side, however, we have a distinct lack of one Nick Meaney, who was busted up by Nelson Asafa Solomona, and so Pappenhausen will probably kick goals. Wishart's at 7 because Hughes busted his hands out for 2 weeks. I still can't believe that they come back that quick from broken bones, but yeah, anyway. Other than that, team looks mostly similar. And Nelson himself is out, I guess. How many teammates is Nelson beaten up now? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand, isn't it?
I bet you they regret getting him off that charge in reserve grade right now.
I don't know about that, but it is certainly a comedy of errors, really, from him.
He should have just stayed the week off, and then Meaney wouldn't be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the Storm. I think this is going to be a bloodbath, but we'll talk about that more tomorrow. As far as fantasy goes, Jack Howarth, how good is he?
I think I could hear Eddie kicking his fridge from New Zealand.
Watching
them
play.
Look, to be fair, his other option was Greg Marziu, who scored less than Howarth and is on a bye now. So you've got to look at the bright side, right? I don't know if any of these Melbourne guys. I mean, look, Pappenhausen's an option. He's interesting. Yeah. He'll get goals for 4 to 6 weeks, but outside of him, you wouldn't touch Harry Grant at the moment. Sean Bloor, while playing 80 minutes, isn't setting the world on fire. And none of the bench guys are even worth mentioning, really.
If I had the money, I would upgrade Brimson to Pappenhausen.
Yeah, not a bad shout.
If I had the money. I don't, because it's a lot, right? You need 130, 140k. I definitely wouldn't be doing 2 trades to do that, because that's not good. But if you could do it in one, I wouldn't talk you out of it.
Yeah, I like Pappenhausen as a pick, especially with goal kicking. They have a couple of really favourable matchups. The one against Manly is a bit of a questionable one. I know they're a much better team than Manly are, but weird things happen when Melbourne play Manly, especially at Brookvale.
Yeah. Didn't they have that record game where they lost despite scoring 36 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pappenhausen could get 20 points just in goal kicking this week, so...
Jeez, you're backing a 60-point flogging, are you?
Yeah, mate.
Nah, just a lot of penalties.
Yeah, true. Let's go with that, because my good mate's a fucking Dragons fan. He'd be devastated if I said that.
Any particular concerns with you two for Munster and Harry Grant? Like, I don't think they're trades anytime soon, but obviously Harry not running the footy is a real worry. And look, Munster, I thought he had a real good game, but he didn't break any tackles, which sort of led to his low score.
Munster's, that's his base game. Well, that'll be the low end of Munster.
Yeah,
I'm not scared.
He had 19 negatives, which isn't really typical for him, I think. So, yeah, it wasn't great to see that, but it was also Panthers. When you play the Panthers, even if they're not 100%, you get those sort of things happening sometimes. Grant's one that I am scratching my head over, because I managed to bring Connor Watson in, as I've mentioned, and my backs look absolutely dreadful at the moment. I would love to bring in a Pappenhausen or a Jaden Campbell, and at the moment, unless I go ahead and sell like a Seyfarth prematurely, I probably need to take one of those hookers to turn into a wing fullback, because I have so many hookers now with Marmazoulis actually scoring well. But like, it feels just stupid to sell Grant to Jaden Campbell. That's a dumb trade. But yeah, I don't know if I can do that this week.
I don't know. You're banking a 50k loss with the trade out of Harry. Break even is 70. Unless you think he's gonna really start picking up them run meters, it's not the worst shout, man.
He's too good to trade, I think, and yeah, he hasn't started that way, but there wasn't a lot of work to be done against Parramatta. He wasn't involved, and like Scoop said against Penrith, you can't really bank on a big fantasy score from anyone against Penrith. And he did miss 6 tackles, so let's hope he gets that in check. And I'd like to see him run the footy at least more than 6 meters.
Well, what do you actually think Harry's going to average you over the next sort of 4 or 5 games there, Scoop?
That's the hard thing. If he's not running, well, half of that attack goes down the drain. And yeah, I would have him only hard pressed to touch 50. But there were 2 unusual games. And it's only 2 games. We've seen Harry Grant average a lot for many seasons.
He could come out and bust 100 this week.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that if Grant shows nothing again this week, I still have enough cash in the bank to go directly him to Campbell next week.
Yeah, JC's not running away. That is an important point I meant to say before. His price isn't going to disappear because he had that, not so good first game. So you can afford to wait another week to get JC.
Yep.
Yeah. I might actually end up making no trades this week then. That's kind of crazy.
Well, that's where I am. I'm a no trade dude this week.
Yep. All right. We'll move on to Cows and Raiders.
We don't have to talk about this if you don't want to. We can just skip.
Well, both
talk about the mighty Cowboys, mate.
Well, they looked better. They looked a lot. They looked better in the first 2 weeks, but
I mean, if you think runny shit looks better than hard shit, then sure, man.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't watch them as hard or judge them as hard as I judged the Eels in that game the other week. I was pretty devastated with that performance. But yeah, Cowboys, not too much is changing. We do see Laybutts in the reserves, so Purdue better have another a really good game this week to try and hold on to that because, well, there's been some changes already in the first few. Is there anybody of interest? Drinky's kicking now. Did he kick last week? I don't actually remember.
Yeah, he did. Only from one side though, but he'll be kicking from both sides now.
Yeah, look, Drinky's a good goal kicker. I personally think none of the Cowboys are options until about round 11 when they get past Penrith, and I think they have a bye before then as well. Let's hope for an uptick for your sake, Brycey, during the Origin period when, obviously none of these players are going to make Origin because they're all washed up like Tom did. But, so they should pick up some wins over that period. But there's no real relevant options for now.
If you're sitting on a Bateman, I'd be really concerned. That's someone that I'd definitely be using to try to get to a Haas or a JC.
Yeah, punt him. He's not doing it. He's missed 8 tackles, 5 tackles, 4
He's not
tackles.
playing. He's not even playing well. Like he's just playing for himself. I was a pretty big supporter of him. I thought he'd come up, rejuvenate himself, but he just hasn't.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't look good at all.
Now he's still on the bench, but that's only relevant if he drops to a very, very low price. He
is going to come back into the team, so you need to look at that when that happens. But yeah, not right now.
You'd almost want to see a 3 in front of his name before even considering him.
Yeah,
like back when he first busted on the scene. Yeah, and the Cowboys want to be winning games too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, the problem is their fixtures are just so bad until, like I said, round 11. I think they have Canberra this week, tough matchup. Penrith next week, and then South, good matchup. Into the bye, into Titans, good matchup. Warriors.
So our first win is coming after the Rabbits game.
Probably during the Rabbits game, right? Maybe.
No. I don't even. We're away, man. I don't know.
Yeah. They'll have Aitken and co back by then, I think.
I'm saying bye. It's our first win, mate.
Do we count the bye as a win, though?
Well, fuck it, we do up in North Queensland, brother.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, there we go. Any more on the Cows, or should we look at the team that got beaten to death?
By the penalty count.
Ask
Ricky, he'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, as a non-Garrick owner, I was very, very smug with his 3 in 20 minutes and very not smug with his 97 in 80 minutes because that pulled my ranks down from about 3,000 to 6,000 by the end of that game. But fair play, Garrick. Well done to him. But yeah, the Raiders need to decide what they're going to do this week. They have no Morgan Smithies, failed HIA, I think. Horse at lock, Tarpanay's back. That's probably how they run out, right?
You'd think so. And look, I'll say about last week's game, as much as we sort of joke about the penalty count, Manly are a team that once they get on a roll can really punish you. And they did. As soon as Corey Horsburgh went into the sin bin, I think they scored 4 tries in 15 minutes. And once that happens, the game's kind of gone. And it's really hard to wrestle momentum back when you're getting flogged. So while I don't think Canberra can come out of that game with their heads held high by any means, I don't think it's danger signs. I think they're still going to come out and really take it to the Cowboys this week. But I just think that the Manly game was not a fluke, but just everything went against them.
Yeah, I tipped on Wednesday that the Raiders would actually win that game, just based on the back of their forward pack. And it didn't turn out. That's how the game was played. But Manly also got on a roll against the Cowboys early, and they put, real quick 40 points up. So I think you're pretty dead on with once they get on a roll, they're hard to pull back. Turbo's back this week too, so you got that.
Yeah, but in terms of Canberra, I think they still look good. Probably too late to jump on horse at this point. Matty Nicholson played 80 minutes last week. Any late Matty Nicholson enjoyers?
I thought he was out this week. Did he pass his HIO?
Yeah, he's fine.
Smithy's
Smithy's is out. That's
Okay.
probably the reason he played 80 as well. But I mean, there's a chance he does play 80 moving forward. But what's he priced at now? Because he made a lot of money after that 80 and then made a fair bit more.
465.
He's
Oh, wait.
550 at the moment. So that's
Looking at
what
the
about a
fucking Nichols.
42, 43 or something?
Yeah,
41. Priced at 41.
that's pretty much the top that I'd even consider anymore.
He's made 100k.
Yeah, wow, 2 games, 100k. But yeah, I there's no way I'd take him after this week. This week would be the absolute last stop because what's he got? It's supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks or something with Hosking.
So you're probably looking at the Titans
another-
game.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't surprise me if he holds a spot though when Hosking comes back. Hosking looked really good at lock. It wouldn't surprise me to see him come back and play middle.
yeah, so you reckon what Horse and Tarpanay props hit Hosking lock, Smithy's just benched.
I think that's their best side. Whether it happens or not is completely up to Ricky Stewart. So, but I think that's how he'll go.
Pretty disappointed in Tamale's 18, but I feel like that's definitely an outlier for him, and he'll bounce back.
Yeah,
got him. I got him a really strong player, so I intend to hold Tamale for quite some time. But if he has another shit game, you're gonna have to start thinking about what you're gonna do with him.
Yeah, he's Toya territory. He's got the pedigree. You just got to see it. Yeah, Tom Starling. How many minutes did he play? I think he didn't play as many.
A little bit less.
60, I think, somewhere around there.
So first 2 weeks,
50.
68, 70,
53.
and then he was 53. So yeah, there's the Ricky Stewart's starting to come into it. Don't buy Starling now. If you jumped on Starling last week, it still might work out. But yeah, this is what happens all the time. He plays really, really well for a few, and then he just disappears for some reason. We'll see how it ends up.
Does that make Owen Paddy a boy?
Not yet, but I mean, if it keeps like that, it could be because his reserve grade PPM at hooker is a lot better than most others. But yeah, that doesn't necessarily translate to first grade, but it's decent signs.
Break even of 8, potential cash down.
I mean, Paddy looks good. I think
he does
the
look good.
plan is for him to be their 9 long term. Obviously, they've signed Jaden Brayley, which means Starling isn't in their plans. So there may come a time where he wins that starting 9 role or even plays more minutes than Tom Starling. I'd probably wait until it happens before looking at him. But if you need to cash down to someone, there are worse options.
Yeah, I don't mind Owen Paddy cash down. Especially if you're going to get Haas with him.
Yeah, need all the cash you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Riley Smith had gotten 50 minutes again, I would have possibly said go that way, but he didn't. I think Lussick took a few more minutes off him this time. Let me have a look. Yeah, 35 minutes, not 50. There you go. Which is actually less than Paddy.
Yeah, which is it's weird that Riley Smith came out and played 50 minutes first 2 weeks, looked pretty good, and then just got cut for Joey Lussick, who is not the best player I've ever seen personally. But he had an okay game against the Bulldogs.
Yeah, just a case of 2 guys coming into first grade. I think that we'll see a lot more of in future years, but how much will they play now?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else here to really look at.
Nah, Tarpanay's like final team. Leave him for now. We've got too many mids, all that type of stuff.
I do have one PSA, and stay away from the Cliff Dog. He got 50. It's not happening again. Just stay away.
Yep. All right. We got the Sharks versus the Doggies. And ordinarily, I'll be really, really hyped for this game. But no Burton and no Kickout makes it probably a lot more one-sided. We do have Braden Hamlin-Uele out this week for the Sharks, otherwise pretty similar. Toby Rudolph's in the reserves. And on the Bulldogs side, looks like the same 17. But yeah, Nico Hines had a good game. Worked really well for him. But yeah, his kick meter base just isn't there anymore. So don't do anything silly like straight trading him for another gun.
Yeah, he's probably more of a super coach option at this point, Nico. Like he's still obviously really involved on the ball, and especially close to the line, he's going to get plenty of touches. But it's not going to translate as well for fantasy. He'll probably still end up around a 60 average, but it's going to be far more 40 one week, 70 the next, rather than what we were used to with him, which is just pretty consistent 60 plus almost every game.
Is there anybody in this game that you could look at and think, oh yeah, that's a buy?
Most of the players aren't relevant. Shout out to Toby Sexton for kicking for 1,000 meters.
He broke
new
Moses' record.
Crazy stuff. Still only scored 50.
Yeah. Well,
how many points is that in kick meters?
That's at least 33 or 34, but under the old scoring, that would have been 50 itself. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, look at it this way: he kicked for 0 meters in round 1, and he's kicked for 1,027 in round. By the time round 3 rolls around,
Matt Burton's
back to 0
to decide what he's going to do.
Back to 0 next week.
Back how to bad? 0, whatever Burton's back.
How bad has Reed Marnie's tackling been this year? Like speed bumping Carnage, mate.
Yeah, he's not a good defender at the best of times, but he's been really, really poor this year. Might be an option when we get closer to the bye rounds if he stays around the sort of 500s and doesn't.
He better learn to tackle between now and then, mate.
Fair.
Well, usually he starts the year not being beaten up and scores well, and then falls off as his body lets him down. But when you're averaging 7 missed tackles a game through the first 3, you don't want to borrow him.
Yeah, danger signs for sure. Although, to be fair, he missed 10 tackles in round 1 last year.
That's about it. We might as well move on then. The other game that may be an absolute clinic this week, Sea Eagles to rip through the previously really good-looking Raiders versus the Eels, who are winless and glued to the bottom of the ladder. How bad could this get, Bryce?
You're probably the only team I can look at the Eels there and say you're playing worse than the Cowboys. And they put 40 on us. So this could get nasty. Maybe back-to-back hundreds for Garrick.
I would hate that as a non-owner. But, I'm watching him. I'm watching out because that'll be very terrifying to not own.
Surely you just can't get worse, right? Surely you've got to turn a corner. Like the Cowboys turned a corner and played better against the Broncos.
We defended better, but we still can't score any points. So we'll see how that goes.
As weird as this sounds, it may not be the worst matchup for Parramatta. As bad as they've looked, they have 2 pretty strong centres defensively, and Manly really excel at pushing the ball to their edges. And if
that's what they called us.
And Lomax can contain that a bit, then I'm not saying Parramatta are even going to be competitive in this game, but it might not be the 60-0 shellacking that most people are assuming this game is going to be.
What I'm hearing is that Jay-Z's saying Eels 13+.
Well, when you have Footy Dean as your number 7, I don't even know how they lost last week. It was crazy.
Oh no, he was just letting Sexton have his time in the sun with his 1,000 kick meters.
Yeah, it's Dean Hawkins season, baby.
Yep.
Much vomited.
How much do you think? Do you guys put any credence into Daly Cherry Evans basically telling Manly, "I don't want you anymore," into their performance?
Yeah, but that's weird because then there was a report that they didn't even know he wanted a 2-year deal and immediately were going to offer him a 2-year deal. I really don't know what's going on here.
It's a bit strange because he said we spoke about this in November, and then Manly have turned around like, oh, we have no idea what you're talking about.
And to be fair, for the Manly team, he did look like he was a crippled old man like 70, 80 minutes ago.
For one very, very short period of a game.
Yeah, that's got to be concerning, though.
I just don't know if it is.
Oh, mate. I mean, fantasy-wise, like, I don't know. Fantasy-wise, I want to see DCE perform really well because I like him in my team. I just like having the neck in my team. But
yeah, I'm probably more thinking of it from like a Manly going to be worse because he doesn't want to be there anymore. Like,
he's a model professional, man. He's going to come out and he's going to do exactly what they need from him.
He is, yes, but what about the rest of the team? It is more my questioning.
Yeah, but this is not the first fucking merry-go-round with DCE.
Yeah, they were
this has happened before
at the time. Last time it happened,
like the backflip the Titans.
Yeah, well, he'll just sign for another 10 years.
Yeah,
but yeah,
get his 13 million.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, sorry, mate. You.
No real options in this Manly team outside of Garrick, but even then, he's just made a shitload of money. So I don't know if I'd pay $648K for Ruben Garrick. Really good matchup this week, and then it gets quite bad quite quick.
Yeah, then Melbourne Sharks could be bad.
That's what I got to cross my fingers on, to be honest. I said earlier in the season that I reckon Turbo was going to be that trap guy who'd average 60 before that really rough period and then fall off a cliff. But of course, he went and got himself injured, so that never happened. But maybe something similar happens with Garrick. He's averaging 60. Maybe he'll average the high 30s or 40 for that next month after that.
Well, he's going to get 50 odd this week against Para, and then he'll get a 30-30 and then a 50 against St. George.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where I see.
I'd be happy with that as a non-owner.
As long as Marzu goes right.
Yeah.
That's probably the other play you brought, right? If you didn't buy Garrick, you brought a Marzu. So
yeah, that's who I do have instead. And now the average difference is about 14, which is a shame, but that's what happens when you have a 70-point swing in 1 week.
Yeah, Marzu will bounce back, mate. Don't stress about that.
Yep.
Holdiongi, if you've got him.
Only because this week has no Knights.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of trading him. I think we've got a pretty good sample size of what he's going to be in first grade. And until Mitch Moses comes back, I'm not sure he'll have as many attacking stats as he's probably capable of doing. I personally think he's more likely to score less than 30 than more than 30 most weeks, and playing Manly is probably no difference.
Yeah, I think he could probably get a try against Manly, and then maybe have a bit of a breakout game against St. George. So, yeah, that's hopefully we get some money rolling coming into the bye, because if he's still sitting at around that 340, 350 mark coming to that bye, then he's going to definitely have to be moved on at that point.
Yeah, even if he's like sitting at 400, it's like just not a spot that you want in your team that's dead and not generating any cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of want to see a 50 plus from him at some point in the next 2 weeks.
He needs to get that cash rolling.
Yeah. Somebody that might...
Old Hop. You're okay, mate.
Yeah, Hopgood had a decent game though, but we knew that's what he can do. Somebody that might get some cash going if he manages to hold the spot, if the Eels don't keep losing it over and over and over, Kautoga.
So my question with this is, why didn't he start there at the beginning of the year? Because he was hurt.
Yeah, he was injured coming into
the
season.
The whole thing was that he was going to start the year, but that's all the mail we heard coming into the year with Kautoga. That was his spot.
He was hurt for round 1, and then I think he came in on the bench in round 2.
Yeah,
and then started in round 3.
Mate, Eels are bad, but if you need a cash down, that's your boy.
Yeah, he's not a bad option. I'll preface this with saying I have no idea who Dan Keir is. Kerr, whatever his name is, the guy in jersey 17. Dory seems like he's playing a middle role this season. Jack Williams plays some time on the edge. He might become an out-and-out middle. The thing about Hopgood's score this week is that he actually played far less minutes than he did in the first few games. So maybe that role continues and his PPM goes up, but his minutes stay a bit lower. Any concerns if you're a Hopgood owner that he only got 56 minutes this week?
Probably
I'm
not yet. Probably not yet. I mean, he's sitting close to his price. He's stopped the price slides at least. He's not doing a massive cash generation like a Terrell May or a Haas or anything like that. It's a little annoying, but I mean, he's averaging 55, so
Definitely worse options and things out there. Jack Williams, can he keep up his average? He played almost 70 minutes on the weekend. I think some of it may have been due to Katonga's HIA, but he looks pretty good in real life. One of the few Parramatta players you can say that about.
He's a pretty good pod pickup for anyone who started the season with him. I'll say that.
yeah,
made a bit of money, 40k.
Who's the one that's got him? Is it?
I think it's Ham.
Yeah, I was going to say Ham.
Maybe. Yeah.
But solid start for him. Hasn't made stacks of cash, but 2 back-to-back 50s. Not too bad.
Right. Low break even. So if you want him, this is the week to get him because he will make. If he gets another 50, he will make substantial money, and then you're probably too far gone. I just had a quick look at Dan Kia. Does look like a bit of a back rower interchange forward. So played 33 games in reserve grade in the back row, averaged 72 minutes with 42 fantasy points.
Interesting. I don't love Katonga as an option. I'll say that now. He's probably the only cash down worth looking at the moment, unless you really want to take the punt with Paddy. But he should play 60 minutes and he might only be good for 30 points. I don't know. I think I'd want to watch one more game, and if he gets 80 minutes, he's a buy, and if he doesn't, then he's...
Problem is, he's no longer a cash down then, is he? Like, if he gets 80 minutes, his break-even's 8, he gets a 45, he's well and truly into 300s. I feel like if you're gonna roll that dice with him, it probably needs to be this week to get full advantage for him.
Yeah, but if he plays 80 minutes and scores 45, he's a fine buy next week anyway. Like, I'm not that concerned. I think if the role's there and if he's good enough, he's still going to be a buy next week, regardless of how much he scores this week.
I guess you could always play him in the centres. Got that jewel.
Yeah. I'd 100% be playing him in my centres at the moment. But, well, at least over back row, but anyway. Any more on this game, or just sell Iongi if you somehow have a lot of extra wing fullbacks?
I don't know how.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. Just, yeah, if you jumped on Riley Smith, unlucky, I guess. I don't even know if there's much you can do with him.
Just hold him until he runs out of money-making capability. He might, one head knock and he gets another 60 or 70 minutes and you get some more cash out of him. Don't sell him this week. Just hold him.
Yeah, he's the Patty that happened a week or two early. You've got to hope that he turns into that main guy instead. Yeah. All right. Moving on to these two Sunday matches, we have the West Tigers versus the Warriors. On the Tigers side, we have Terrell May scoring consecutive 70s, but other than that, they are pretty much as per program. Skelton's names, despite sort of tweaking his hammy a little bit in the Dolphins game. On the Warriors side, we have no RTS, and we have Berry in the centres with Leotawa. Bench is similar again with Walker, Ford, Famalga, Halasima. Tamari Martin, Jay-Z, you said he's at 18, but you said he made a cracking go in reserve grade.
Mate, 125 points in reserve grade. I went to check Billy Smith's statistics because I was a bit interested with how bad Toya was playing, whether or not he'd be a chance of a call-up. And look, Billy Smith looks good, but then I noticed Tamari Martin scored 125 fantasy points with 2 tries and 4 try assists. He's got to be knocking down the door. I know the Warriors have been winning lately, but if they don't get the job done against the Tigers here, he's got to be every chance of coming in, right?
Yeah, 100%. If he's playing good footy, you want people in form in your team.
Yeah.
I don't think CHT's been killing it. So
No, and I think okay. So here's the question. I'm pretty sure both of you have Metcalf.
no, I don't.
What are you doing with him?
I don't have him.
Yeah, I Humphreysed him, but if if I did still have him, I would be moving him on. Like he's done good, he's did bad, good, bad, and we just kind of don't really know where he's there. He is one of those guys that you could do in a 2 trade with like a more expensive guy to get a Payne Haas, in my opinion. When
Yeah, I at the start of the season, I expected high 30s to low 40s, somewhere around there. He just doesn't look like he's got the base for that.
No, the base isn't quite there. Which, well, I mean, the base is okay. It's more, and we spoke about this with Jaden Campbell, is that when you put a guy who is really run first and you put him into a playmaking first receiver, kick the ball to the corners type role, they become so focused on that they need to learn how to balance that with their running game, and he's not running the ball anywhere near as much as a guy as good as he can be should be running the ball. So
9 run meters last week, 9.
yeah, and this is a guy who is like one of the best ball running halves in the competition. It's really his strong suit. And for him to be running for 9 meters in a game is pretty atrocious.
Yeah, I'd be abandoning ship at this point.
One tackle break in 3 games.
Cut your loss.
Yeah, wow, that's really surprising. Hey, Luke Metcalf is somebody you would expect to do that running and taking, like a Brimson sort of a thing. It's just not worked out in that way.
Oh, don't say that, mate, because I still have high hopes for Brimo. Don't be putting the Metcalf curse on him.
I'm talking about Metcalf, but yeah, I think Brimson. We've seen it from Brimson before, and he's got pedigree for it. I think he's in that role that he lets him do that. So we'll see how it goes.
Just one for Rudley. Old Seyfarth with his 21 points of value coming out last week. What a player.
He desperately needed that try, otherwise he was in for another 30. But
it was
hey,
terrible.
you gotta take your points regardless of how they come. And while I'm not sure he's going to be making or scoring too many tries, it's if you're an owner, you'd be happy with a 56.
And you're going to hold him now too if you're an owner. Don't be using Seyfarth as one of your chips. Low break even-ish now, so he's going to make you some money that you want. Just hang on.
Yeah, and look, I'll say about this game in particular, I think all of the middle forwards and even, like, say, Seyfarth sort of wanders into the middle to make tackles at times. This is going to be a high base stat game, in my opinion, because if you look at how the Warriors have played, they've pretty much gone right up the guts. And the Tigers are very similar as well, at least for the majority of their attacking sets, and then sort of Galvin does whatever he wants and meanders around the field. But this is why I'm captaining Terrell May this week, is I think it's going to be played largely up the middle. His base is going to be monstrous, and he'll probably throw a few offloads.
He's captain in the May over the Haas machine. Big call, mate.
Don't mind it.
It's his turn for a try, mate.
We'll talk about this more tomorrow night, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. On the Tigers side, pretty much the only other relevant thing I can see is if you have Jack Bird, which I don't think many people ended up getting, but yeah, just get him out now if you can. He scored 30, 26, and 23, despite not too bad minutes.
Agreed.
Crazy. I just don't know what's going on with the Birdmeister. He's just not getting his PPM like he normally does when he plays that middle area.
No chest slap tackle breaks as he runs sideways.
Very, very concerning if you're an owner.
Fisher Harris, minutes down again, but score still 50 plus. Not really a concern, but probably like to see him get closer to 60 rather than 50 minutes.
Yeah. I want 60 minutes from him. I am worried with Fisher Harris. I'm not panic stations trading right now, but I'm definitely on alert.
Yeah. definitely watching. But yeah, he's a guy that comes in and just makes you 50 points or so, and you're kind of happy with it for now until you're looking to gun up in that absolute
Well-
final team.
Well, how long can he keep up a PPM of over 1, which is what he's got in those first 3 games? Like,
History says unlikely.
yeah, so he's got Tigers game. I think he'll be fine because, as you said, really big middle game, a bye, and then Melbourne Broncos. I think after that Broncos game, I'm going to be looking at Fisher Harris to see where he's at.
Yeah, and I think he's probably just a touch under the sort of elite keepers, and even guys like Horsburgh and Couchman, to be quite frank. So this is something that I was thinking about before. Did we ever jump off Horsburgh? Like,
Not if he's starting, bro. Not if he's starting.
Averaging 56. Like that's keeper territory, right?
Yeah,
I
you
think
stay on
Horsburgh is
horse.
what we were hoping Fish would be, is in that low 50s guy that sits in our 17th or 16th man in our final team.
Yeah, but Horsburgh's not a low 50s guy, dude.
Yeah,
He's
not
like
even
mid.
low 50s.
He's
No,
mid,
no.
yeah.
Yeah, well, when we
Yeah.
got May and Haas and Yo and stuff running around, we might not be able to put him in our starting mids. But
So
yeah,
this is my plan with Fisher Harris, is to move him to Yo in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I don't hate chasing Yo early because he is that sort of elite middle. It just kind of depends on what mid ranges are available at the time. Like if you can get a Radley, like we talked about, at 400 odd K, and he's going to come in and average nearly 50, like you probably want to keep recycling your money like that. But
yeah,
I also don't hate the idea of upgrading to elite keepers. I'd probably, and this is more just like general strategy talk, but I would be a bit hesitant to overload on Origin guns, even though the minor buys are going to be a bit easier. The difference is really going to be in the quality of players that you're putting out each week for overall, and I think you can't overcommit on guys that are going to miss a lot of games due to Origin.
Yep, I agree. And Horses, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, is 100% going to be in the Queensland team. Haas is going to be New South Wales. Yo, New South Wales. It's just, you got to have it in your head. That's the other reason to talk about holding Fish, is he's there, right? He's not going anywhere. And if he gets you that low 50s, maybe you can hold him the whole way through and then move him on after.
Yeah, good shout, especially if Barnett makes the Origin squad.
Yep.
Which is a great chance because he's not exactly playing shit. He's killing it again, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors are 2-1. I thought they'd be 1-2 probably at best.
And that's even with Metcalf not exactly lighting the world on fire.
Yep.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I suppose that also means like don't go out and buy Yo and Hopgood and stuff, because all of a sudden you're gonna have like 4 forwards that are just gone.
Yeah, well, I'm probably a bit less confident in Hopgood getting picked for Origin. I don't think Parramatta or he is playing well enough to warrant that.
Yeah,
especially with Tino back.
Tino, Cotter, Horse, Collins. Well, there's like 4 right there. You got I'll mate from Brisbane. So
yeah, so I'm not saying that he won't get picked, but at the moment I don't think Hopgood makes the 17.
Gilbert. Like Queensland have got a lot of forwards there. So like Hopgood's gonna have to come in and play big.
Yeah, that's a fair shout.
Make the
Without
team.
Moses, he might not make it. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
We
end
talked
of this
about
game,
this. Yeah, we talked about it a bit earlier, but Stafford Toa probably not a buy anymore. Like it was probably last week or never for him.
Yeah.
I said hold Jerome Luai and see how he went against the Dolphins, but he went horribly, and I think you're pretty safe to sell him at this point.
Yeah, well, he's only averaging about 30, low 30s or something at the moment, isn't he?
34, which is
Wow.
just not expected whatsoever.
So I've got a shout for you here, because anyone who's looking to actually sell Cary Grant, even though I think you should hold, you seriously need to have a look at some Wade Egan action.
Yeah, I mean,
because
Wade's
he is
it.
fucking just destroying this game right now. Like you're paying 48 for a guy that's averaging 60. He's not going to average 60. He's probably going to average that low to mid 50s, but he'll price peak. he'll get right up there.
Yeah, and look, a thing to note about Wade Egan is that he's actually taken a lot of the, I wouldn't say the attacking structures, but the Warriors play off him and they feed really well through his running game, and he's really good at getting his front rowers onto the ball and creating space in the middle. And the Warriors are really playing through the middle at the moment. So he's probably got a slightly bigger role. There was a moment where everyone held their breaths on the weekend, and it looked like he might have had another head knock, but he's avoided it for now.
Look, he's got the Tigers, and if he gets through that game, he gets a week off. So,
yeah,
it is hard to buy him this week, though.
I'd probably say it's a bit too late to chase him, but if you started the season with him, amazing. Well done.
Yeah, well done.
See if you can do some sneaky draft trades for him or something.
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah, good stuff. That pretty much brings us to the end of the games. Yeah. What are your hot tips for this week? I reckon Payne Haas is obviously not a hot tip, going to go well again against this softer Dolphins side. How well do you think Pappenhausen is going to go? Because he's one of the guys that I'm considering to bring in to strengthen that horrendous wing fullback and centres that popped up last week.
He's got it in him. Like, Melbourne certainly should be putting St George to the sword, but let's say in this fixture last season, he scored 7 points in 80 minutes when St George upset the Storm.
Oh wow! That game.
I know that he played Panthers last week, but he did have a try, 2 goals, a try assist, line break assist, and only got a 36. Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I don't know about the ball in play statistics in that game, but the base almost universal in that game was pretty low. Like, there were very few strong scorers.
He could come out and get a 70 like he did against the Eels, 100%. I don't think he's going to be the round's top scorer. I think he's going to be a good scorer.
Yeah.
And if you were to bring Pappenhausen in this week, I'd say I looked at it. I tried. I just couldn't do it in one move. So.
Yeah, I'm glad I got Jaden Campbell last week. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I got Haas last week.
Mess around.
Fucking hundreds, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to search for his stats with and without Jerome Hughes. The problem is he was missing for most of that time, so it doesn't count. All right. So, yeah, I got to figure out if I want to get Jaden Campbell this week. Probably not Pappenhausen anymore, I suppose. But, I mean, he's still a shot with goals, but yeah.
I can't get him 1 week anyway, or JC, so I've got no choice to hold. I think the bigger scary thing is if you can't get to Haas this week and he does come out and pull apart the Dolphins team again like he pulled apart the Cowboys.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, it's obviously going to be punishing, but I mean, if you have Terrell May and you're captaining him.
But you should have Terrell May anyway.
Yeah, correct. But it's not that big of a punish. Like, the reason it was such a big punish this week is because a lot of people captained Cleary and he scored fucking 5 points. Yeah. So I doubt Terrell May is going to come out and score 5 points. Fucking knock on wood, because I'm anti-captaining Haas again. But yeah.
Tapped it for you, mate.
Thanks, mate. I heard that. That came through.
Yep. I don't know who's going to be. I'll think about it. I'll shout out tomorrow night who I think is going to be big. Got no idea, mate.
Yeah, right. We'll tune in for that one next week, guys. Not next week. Tomorrow, guys, to find out who all those shouts are. And, we'll catch you next time.